Welcome back to Inside the Swing. We are past Ryder Cup.
We're licking our wounds, Jeremy.
Oh my gosh.
I don't care what the final score, man. That was a butt whooping.
It was a butt whooping. Sunday was the most dramatic. I thought that when Cam got his match, when Justin got his match, I was like, and then I saw the board, and the board was pretty red across the board. And then I saw DeChambeau coming back. I was like, man, this could actually be the biggest comeback in Ryder Cup history.
You and everybody else, if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would be definitely saying that they threw those early matches to get the viewership, because it went from a snooze fest to all of a sudden everybody rushing in from the golf course and the range to watch it finish.
Yeah, I agree. It was, wow, was it exciting. But to get to there, wow, was it rough.
So many things had to go right, and like you said, the dominoes began to fall for the US, and we just couldn't quite, just kind of the comeback ran out of steam, largely because of that, crazy rule with Hovland, the automatic half point based on an injury.
We gotta talk about that.
Yeah.
What's your thought? Okay, you basically have a forfeit, right? Technically,
you got a free forfeit, a forfeit without penalty, you'd call it, because if you have an injury, instead of an alternate stepping in, which would be one option, they just automatically each captain puts the name of one player in an envelope at the beginning of the week. And if there's an injury on one side, that person sits, and then they open the envelope on the other side, and that person sits. And they split points. They get a half a point. The matches are automatically halved. So, I'm not crying foul on the Euros decision for Hovland to sit. He may really be hurting. But if it's even in question and you've got an 11.5 to 6.5 point lead going into day 3, there is no way in Hades that he's playing on Sunday. And that's the unfortunate way that it turned out.
Yeah, there was a lot of people online that did not like that. It hurt us more than it helped us.
Oh, for sure.
Because we didn't have a chance to get the whole point. It was just automatically, boom, you're out. Nope, half point.
We needed every victory we could have gotten. And, if you think about it, if Hovland had gone out there slightly less than 100%, which who knows, maybe we had a couple guys that weren't always 100%. Everybody can sleep on their shoulder wrong, sleep on their neck wrong. And if, he goes out there a little bit less than 100% and he's losing, that's one more half point coming down, and Shane Lowry's half wouldn't have won it for him. Yeah. That certainly could have been the case, the scenario coming down the stretch yesterday. So I don't know. We'll see. I was hoping for a tie, because I was wondering if something that dramatic. There's been 2 ties. I looked it up. 2 ties in Ryder Cup history where it finished 14-all.
Yep.
If it finished 14-all yesterday,
but it couldn't have finished 14-all, could it have?
If the U.S. had won all the matches after Lowry, then it would have finished 14-all. There's several scenarios, but there are always 28 points available total during the Ryder Cup for the week. And that's why you see them talk about whoever has the cup needs 14 points to retain the cup, but it takes 14.5 to win the cup. And the U.S., since the Euros won the last one, the U.S. had to get 14.5 points to take the cup back from Europe. So it would have been interesting to see if in the modern era, because I don't believe it's happened in a long time, in the modern era, if we had a 14-14 tie, if the next year we wouldn't see some sort of looking into a tiebreaker of sorts, which would be the highest drama you could possibly come up with. Man.
Right.
It would be crazy.
Well, and to be honest with you, we can't really complain about Hovland, because up until Sunday, we were dismal.
It was bad, Jeremy.
Dismal.
It was bad.
And we had talked about this last week, about, hey, where do we think the stats will run that will be over the top? Like, it'll be the determining factor. I said fairways and you said putting, And by God, it was putting.
It just feels like when we lose at the Ryder Cup, historically, guys that we, sometimes don't even see that much over here playing on the PGA Tour, just running putts in left and right. And sure enough, that's what we saw. Strokes gained wise, you and I kind of did a deep dive into some of the numbers, just to share with you all. If you look at strokes gained on the PGA Tour in terms of putting, what you'll find is probably what you'd expect. It's kind of tit for tat. Sam Burns leads. I think the second best American that was on the Ryder Cup is Cam Young at 6th. But then Rory McIlroy's in there at 7th. And then there's another Euro that's 10th. And then an American at 12th. And then a Euro at 15th. Mm-hmm. So there's an even dispersion going down for season-long putting statistics on the PGA Tour. Mm-hmm. There was an even dispersion. There was no clear advantage, strokes gained in putting. And strokes gained, by the way, if you're not familiar, is a stat that essentially measures a player's performance versus the field and not some sort of imaginary, total putts gives us an example of a stat, but does it tell the whole story? Putts per greens in regulation is a great stat, but that depends on how close you hit it. Yeah. You can have fewer total putts if you miss a lot of greens and you're chipping it close. You have a lot of one putts. Right. That doesn't tell us the whole story. Strokes gains is proximity to the hole and how you're putting versus the field. So what we saw, unfortunately, is for the week, only 2 Americans were in the top 10 strokes gained putting among the 24 Ryder Cuppers.
That is rough.
And
what was the total? Like 9 strokes gain? 9 strokes?
8.8 and change, 8.43 strokes gained for the European team over the course of the week. I heard one of the announcers say, because I didn't have this information, but they said that through 2 days, there was only 1 American in the top 9 strokes gained putting wise. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was Russell Henley.
He played really good. Unfortunately, he missed those 2 putts on 17 and 18, which were both very makeable, which really probably was the determining factor. Unfortunately, he's a rookie this year. I mean, obviously Russell's been around a long time, but he just, for whatever reason, he never could make a Ryder Cup. But, it's hard to say. Look at Chef, best player in the world.
The points that I saw, Scheffler has played in singles now, the number 1, the number 2, and the number 1 and the number 2 player in the world each year. So he's catching the very best from the other side. The fact that he pulled that off, he's being on top means you're put in a situation where you're the draw. You're supposed to be the rock, and it's even more pressure. They may put somebody with you that you're bringing them up, hopefully, right? And so you're not getting Scheffler and who would be our next best performer. You're not putting Scheffler and DeChambeau out together every match, but you can't put your 1 and 2 out. But maybe we should have done more than that. Yeah. More of that, I should say.
At the end of the day, it was close, on Sunday. But we just set ourselves up terribly. And I don't know what happened. Obviously, the greens, we did not like the greens. They were very slow. Everybody kept coming up short. Euros didn't have no problem with the greens. They were making putts from everywhere. But to be fair, greens speeds of that caliber is more likely going to be on their side of the pond, because it's just different weather climate, different environmental factors. And so they get used to that wetter, kind of slower green, and they were just hammering them. They were just like, man, they were in their field day. They were making everything.
Yeah, we see it at the Open Championship every year. We get slightly slower green speeds just because of the practices over there and the fact that they get so much wind. So I know that the folks at the PGA of America were disappointed in the weather leading up to the event, the amount of rain that Bethpage took. Mm-hmm. I know that played a factor, but Paul Azinger, 4-time Ryder Cupper, former captain, champion, winner winner as a captain.
Yeah, at Valhalla.
He was already, before this thing started, he was already questioning the decision to be at Bethpage to begin with. It's a course that our players aren't that familiar with. It's a course that, in his mind, doesn't necessarily even suit our games all that well. And his point was the Euros don't care where they go, but our guys might, in his words.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, think about the team. I mean, outside of Chef, DeChambeau, Cam Young, maybe Cantlay. I mean, we don't really have long ball hitters on the team this year. And that is a beast of a golf course. Now, I could tell just from playing it on Sim where we played the ball, like they didn't play the same tees. The way that they were throwing it darts in there, I was like, you did not play all the way back. So they definitely moved it up a couple on some. And I don't even think we could carry that corner from the back tee on number one, like most of them were doing. So we're going to have to test that out.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, based on the normal golf course, if some of the grandstands didn't take up the very back part of the tee box, and they got it up there close enough where they could bomb it on. But it is downhill. We did see that,
Definitely downhill.
Yeah. Are we that long? We certainly saw a setup that attempted at least to do the usual setup for us, which is Americans hit it longer. So we make the rough less penal, close to the fairway. And we make sure that when our guys spray it, they're able to still control the ball enough to get it, on the greens and do something. But the greens were so soft. And again, that has nothing to do. That's just unlucky how much rain they got. The greens were so soft it almost didn't matter where they were hitting it from. The only thing that came into play is if you're getting a little bit of a flyer type lie to where the ball jumps and it carries a different distance than what you're expecting. But there was no danger, from anybody missing fairways. Yeah,
but what really didn't make sense is soft greens produce a lot of birdies normally. You're just throwing darts at it. These guys are world-class players. Like, that's what was so shocking. Like, just watching DeChambeau play, he was short on his approach shots almost every time. Almost every time. And I'm like, boys, the greens are soft.
Yeah.
Like, why are we not attacking? Now, granted, that's a view from the a view from the sideline, making those criticisms.
Right.
But I mean, you expect players of this caliber to be able to make those adjustments, and I just don't feel like we did. It's like we stuck to a game plan and never adjusted whatsoever.
Yeah, I think a back hole location. Let's take a back hole location, especially at Bethpage. There's some blind shots. Mm-hmm. So you got a blind shot coming into a green. You can't see what's going on. Then you got a back hole location. If the ball flies a foot too far, it bounds into the back collar and it doesn't come back out of there. Yeah. And we saw that a couple times yesterday. Cantlay had a big one late, 16 or 17, I want to say. He did. He had to be aggressive and he flew it all the way back, just maybe a pace pass flag high, and it bounded into the collar, and then he's left with that. Whereas if it was coming up short, the ball was spinning back. So the soft greens in that instance, kind of what you're talking about, the soft greens actually make it more difficult to a back hole location sometimes.
Yeah, but really does it? Because at the end of the day, they're not going to run off the green. Like, the greens were slow. So, even when he putted that putt, it just trickled down to the hole. I don't even think he made it to the hole.
Yeah, there's no other. I guess the point is there's no other play other than to fly it all the way to the hole. When you have firm greens, you've got different shots you can play. You can play it low. You can bounce it in there. Mm-hmm. You can play knockdown shots, and you don't have to carry it all the way. But what you're left with such soft greens is that you've got to fly it all the way to the hole to get it close. And then if the hole location is cut on the back at 5 paces from the back edge, you've only got about a 3-yard landing area to hit it in to get it close.
Yeah.
Now, you saw the absolute opposite with some front hole locations, especially early on.
Yeah.
They're hitting wedges and spinning it back down in there. Now those are certainly easier.
Yeah, throwing them into the backstops, and then they just kind of trickle back in.
Yeah, but for the week, going back to the strokes gained, everything kind of statistically that we looked at made sense. The Euros outputted us. The individuals that putted well tended to do better in their matches. Xander Schauffele was one exception. He did not putt well all week. He did not putt well yesterday, but he ball struck John Rahm to death, and John Rahm was one of the worst putters yesterday on the Euros.
Right.
And so I think Schauffele's ball striking numbers yesterday, strokes gained, were almost 4 shots tee to green, which is phenomenal. So all in all, I think it kind of played out. I think if the Euros were going to win, it was going to be tight. It was going to be kind of a miracle. We just didn't get anything going soon enough, and maybe it's what Azinger talked about. The course we played in Rome 2 years ago, they had played, all the players had played multiple DP Tour events on that golf course, including, I believe Marco Simone's the name of it. Yep. Including that very year. And a couple of our guys even tried to go play the DP Tour event on that golf course just to get fresh. The Bethpage, the difference is it's been a while since they've hosted anything of consequence except the PGA Championship, and there weren't many of our 12 guys that even played in that latest PGA Championship. So some of those guys had never played a competitive round at Bethpage. I find that to be a huge disadvantage.
Yeah. Is there some kind of rule you can't go up there and practice on it?
No, and they had plenty of sessions, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The preparation that goes into this, they had plenty of team sessions to go up to Bethpage, but there's no preparation like playing a 4-round event where you're coming in on Monday, you're playing a couple practice rounds, and then 4 competitive rounds on a golf course. And with Marco Simone in Rome, you even had guys that had played there. They went there every year. What a huge advantage. They talk about how difficult it is to be a rookie on PGA Tour all the time because of that. Getting used to the golf course, getting used to the feel of the facility, even and
all the breaks,
such a comfort level of just being there and knowing. And so maybe it goes back to some course selection like Azinger. There have been several articles blasting the American crowd for 2 reasons. One is going to be obvious to everyone. We were rowdy and downright rude. And it was almost embarrassing at times to see some of the crap. Have you ever been to
New York? F word is like the word "the" in the Northeast. Like they say it nonstop. Like it's literally like me saying "the" in the South. Like when I lived up there for a while, it took me a while to get used to it. It's like every other word, and it's just like normal banter, which I do agree that there was some things but
targeting of the wives and family.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Roy's
with that.
wife got hit in the head with a beer can or something. Yeah, at some
point. Missed that.
I mean, it definitely crossed the line in certain, and I appreciate our New York fans, but the thing about, I'm not going to blast the entire region because they're obviously passionate. Just look at some of their sports teams and everything like that. But for some reason, Jeremy, we're just doing it all wrong.
I know.
In general, I just, there's no creativity.
Yep.
We tried to have I saw some videos. We were trying to have an MC, a comedian that was trying to lead chants. She was getting booed. And then ultimately she tried to lead a vulgar chant about Rory dropping the F-bomb in a chant with the MC, and she lost her job. And rightfully so. I mean, it was awful, man. But you see the Euros, and you see soccer matches, and you see the Ryder Cup, and I don't know. I feel like my wife would kill me if I said something nice about Duke. But the Duke basketball cheering section, I think, is like a great example of what we need more of. They are cutting but creative. Right. They come up with their cheers and their chants, and they're not vulgar.
Yeah.
They're picking on something that's in good fun, but still cutting.
Yep.
And instead we just come up with FU. And then we go USA, USA. There were several folks that said the loudest cheers they heard were when they announced that the beer tents were open at 9 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
And so
it was weird. It was weird all the way around. Like even the energy of the team was weird. There was no, how do I put this? It didn't seem like there was very much patriotism this year. It was just more about how can we get everybody riled up? It was just a weird situation. Now, obviously, we were down early and continued to be down. And, players like Fleetwood were dogs this week.
Right.
Like that cat is, man, he's gotten so good. And obviously, great teammate, great player. Lost to Justin. I'm sure that felt like a second place, like he's been having a lot outside of the tour championship. But yeah, I would agree with you there. I mean,
Euros don't need a reason to come and be loud. They don't wait for good things to happen. They're just there and jovial and having a good time. There were lots of comments about people wouldn't put their phone down. It was cell phones, and I heard one of the commentators say, they showed a guy hitting a shot, and he said, I was doing my best to find somebody standing behind the shot that didn't have their phone in their hand.
Well, yeah, but that's the way it is. Like if you don't want that, leave the phones up. Tell them no phones. Like, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's the world we live in.
Yeah,
we can't do anything about that. It's the devil. These little phones have become the devil. I mean, it really has. It's getting outrageous. Even outside of golf, it's just absolutely mind blowing. And that's probably a little bit to do with the crowd. It's because that's the world we live in now. People say whatever they want to say online. No repercussions, no consequences. Hell, you can't even discipline your kids these days because there's threats of calling the cops. Like it's just, I mean, this is what we're teaching these kids, and then we're gonna go and say, "Oh, well, you shouldn't really do that." Like, really? Like, I don't even know why we have rated R movies anymore.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing ever. My kid called me the other night. Hey, Dad, I want to go watch The Conjuring. I'm like, really? She's 13 years old, and I'm like, They're like, yeah, but we need a parent to get it. I'm like, really? Why? Like, just go pull up anything on the internet. It's just so stupid.
Certainly so easy to find. Well, the phones have definitely changed the way we watch sports or don't watch sports. In concerts, sports and concerts and things like this. What are you doing with that video? What are you doing with it? I've always wondered that.
Well, they're probably looking at their swing. That's what a lot of people do.
Think so?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're taking it to see the swings. And then they're going to go back and analyze the swings and be like, oh, what if I do that? Or what if I do this?
I think you're giving these folks way too much credit. I think that's really 1 out of 20.
I really do think that that's what they're doing. I think that they're wanting to go back and see the swings.
Well, if you don't have directly down the line, then it doesn't matter anyway.
Well, they don't know that. They're just
fair. But I just think we have this habit of like that we think that somebody actually gives a crap that we were there and wants to see a video that they took just for pure clout.
I'm actually shocked that we haven't seen a meme of Rory turning back to the crowd and basically tell him to F off. Like, I'm really surprised that somebody hasn't blown up a meme on social media because all those people were behind him. They got that on camera.
Sure.
I'd be memeing that thing to death.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a good one. I'm sure there are quite a few catchphrases that might come out of that.
But I'm not the biggest Shane Lowry fan because Shane seems to complain a lot when he doesn't get his way, but then he seems to be just outlandishly like ha 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 when it's going his way. And so, if you're gonna do that, then you got to take the heat. Like I got no point. He's a phenomenal player. And by the way, I was shocked that Rory was nowhere to be found when he made that putt. Even when he went through with that whole hoopla of winning and all that stuff, I didn't see Rory once.
Interesting.
That's his best bud.
I didn't notice that. I wonder if he was on the golf course supporting some of the matches in the back.
Oh, could have been. I didn't think about that.
Because I would say that they could have easily divided up. And they'll do that sometimes because, it came to a point to where, hey, we just need a half. Anybody. Somebody.
Right. That's what it got down to.
Somebody,
like,
anybody. So maybe if one of his boys that he felt like he could really help, he could snake back to one of the others. It kind of seemed like the way things were going that Lowry was going to be the deciding factor once he made that birdie on 15 or 16, wherever it was, and cut it to 1. You just had that. I just had that feeling that he was going to be the one. He was hitting such good shots, and Henley almost stole it from him. He almost stole it from him and just couldn't quite pull it off.
Yeah. Some of the young guys had a lot of those coming in down the stretch.
Yeah.
I'm like, boys, just hit it. What do you have to lose?
Tough. But then again, it goes back to, different types of conditions that we're used to seeing.
No, I agree. I wonder what they were rolling. Did you ever hear what they were rolling? They acted like they were like rolling 8s.
Yeah, which I'm sure it was more like 9.5, or 10. But we're used to seeing 11 and 12 consistently on
and
tour.
A lot of uphills, downhills,
week in, week out. A lot of slope on those greens.
Yep.
And there's something about when they're just so full of moisture that they get those bent grass greens just feel a little bit sticky. And I don't know if you noticed like how deep green color they were. That's always to me green. As a player. As a player, that's a recipe for that just looks slow to me. It's like carpet.
I know, but at the end of the day, if it was everybody playing bad, there's an argument there.
Yeah.
But the Europes just whooped it. They just whooped us. Except for Sunday, obviously.
Yeah, except for Sunday. And honestly, it just sort of turned on a dime, and somehow we caught some momentum. And, there's really no rhyme or reason, just it started falling. The crowd finally got into it, you could argue. Yep. According to these are firsthand accounts that we're reading coming out of New York.
Yep.
Folks that were on the ground there kind of complaining about Americans not getting into it at first, and all of a sudden they became a factor later. But lack of creativity and the chants and the lack of noise and the phones and no clapping and no chanting and none of this. It was just USA and then F you Rory. So
right.
Which makes me wonder. I never saw this one coming, but here we are, 2025. The Euros, in their preparation at Bethpage, going back to talking about the teams going, they did a 2 or 3 day run on a Monday, Tuesday, up in New York, a few weeks before the Ryder Cup, and they actually invested in VR headsets. And these VR headsets,
you were telling me about this.
They use to pipe in crowd noise and heckling. And the idea was, we've seen this. The closest example I could think of this was football. So football is great. They'll go in the stadium and they'll pump crowd noise in over the PA to try to simulate a hostile road environment to where they're down to having to call audibles with hand signals because you can't hear. Even heck, some of these SEC stadiums are so loud you can't even hear across the line, much less a receiver taking a call.
Right.
You hope your home fans quiet down. You can actually make some calls when you're on offense. Sometimes that doesn't even happen in the SEC, but that's the closest example I could come up with. And so and it's almost like an Earl Woods thing, like when he used to scream at Tiger in his backswing, to try to prep him for everything that could come his way. They got these VR headsets and they're talking. I don't know who was talking to him, if it was players talking to one another, but it was almost like a constant back off challenge, trying to get used to the vitriol and abuse that they were going to take. And I got to say, something worked. I don't know now this is a veteran squad.
Yeah.
We talked about this when we did the show on the captain's picks. The next 6 guys past the automatic qualifiers, the guys that finished 7th to 12th on the European squad, were stone cold locks as Ryder Cuppers. I mean, it was the who's who, the Hovland, the Lowry, the guys that you're like, well, they're obviously going to be on the team.
Right.
So, ours was, the American side was not even close to that cut and dried. And I think it shows by Keegan's selections. You know, he went all the way down to 17 or 18,
which still
on the,
shocks
on
me
the points
because
list.
he got passed up.
Yeah,
for that reason, it really does shock me. I actually thought he would pick just straight up the line, be like, hey,
and take himself out.
No, I don't think he was going to take himself. Although we could have used him, to be honest with you.
Well, Brian Harmon comes to mind as somebody that I couldn't imagine him picking.
No, because he's just not long enough.
He was in the top 12.
Oh, he was in the top 12.
You know,
which is
that comes
crazy.
to mind.
You don't hardly ever see him except at majors.
The picks made sense. If you really wanted to get critical, I think you're probably down to splitting hairs. You're probably saying, well, Schauffele wasn't playing that well. I heard Morikawa's name keep coming up, but if you really look at who you're going to replace him with, it wasn't like we didn't take a perennial Ryder Cupper.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you sit Morikawa for Spieth, who's really not playing well?
I mean, think about it though.
You sit Morikawa for Keegan himself, probably.
Think about who we didn't have on this team: DJ, Phil, Brooks. Like
Koepka is the name that's come up, and I don't care what anybody says.
And Phil's a little bit older out, but still,
if Patrick Reed. If this live thing didn't happen and somehow Patrick Reed didn't get passed up in Italy, he would be on this team today, and we needed Captain America.
I know.
And
I know there's a lot of people out there that hate Patrick Reed because he might be a cancer, scandals or whatever.
He might be a cancer in the American locker room, per se. They may say he's a cancer in the locker room, but we don't have a locker room in America. Euros, they are so close knit. I think it goes back to how they prepare in junior golf and university and things that they do over there. In the DP tour, it's much more close knit. They travel more.
Oh yeah,
they're closer together. You look at just geographically how much closer, Spain and England are versus New York and California. And all these things mean that they have much more, which is remarkable because they're from different cultures, different countries, and yet they have more of a kindred spirit because of the way they come up in the game than the Americans do. So, you remember hearing about Tiger and Phil and the huge personalities that were in that locker room and how that we were not a cohesive unit when those guys were playing and that it started at the top and that possibly, there was some blame there, but you wonder about a guy named like Scotty Scheffler. He has worked so hard to become the number one player in the world. And I'm sure he feels like he's on an island and he's not prepping for match play. He's not prepping his game for a Ryder Cup
and team
formats and things like that.
Right.
And can you fault the guy?
I know.
Ryder Cup doesn't make a career. These guys would take any one of them, no matter what they say, they'd take a major victory over a Ryder Cup win any day of the week. I almost.
Although they didn't express that this week, though.
They didn't, but they expressed
this as this is the most important tournament we'll play in our lifetime.
And maybe that's actually true. I find that a little difficult to believe the way we weigh majors in terms of people's careers and things like Hall of Fame selections and things like that. Now maybe that's true. I know they love it. Don't get me wrong. I understand there's a passion there that but when it comes down to it, they're like, hey man, you want a Ryder Cup win or you want that Masters victory?
Well,
if they're being 100% honest with themselves, I
agree. I can't fault you on that one. But I mean, this begs the question: is this whole live thing starting to get to the American side? Like, are we starting to really see what's
the fallout? You might say,
yeah, the results of all of this, allowing all this to happen. Listen, nobody can blame people for taking the money. That's a huge amount of money. I get it. And
conversation for another day. Let's go into. What's the result? What's the fallout?
We're missing some world-class players that we normally probably would have had. Now, granted, would the results change? I don't know, because those guys haven't been playing as much and they haven't been playing as good.
But again, to your point, that's a lot the criticism of Liv, that a guy like DJ was going to go by the wayside and he wasn't going to work as hard because he doesn't have to. The motivation's not there.
Well, we see that with every big contract.
Is that,
sponsor contracts, everybody.
I don't buy into that. I think that's 100% for everybody. I don't think you can blanket statement that. But
I don't know.
But with DJ, especially, I think we kind of saw it. You wonder about a guy like Koepka. He has certainly struggled to find his footing over there and trying to balance that with coming back and playing in majors. He has not been in the form that we expect from him. But then, DeChambeau, after all the criticism that Chambly threw his way, and talking about he's just a YouTube star and things like that. I mean, he certainly brought it this week.
Yeah, but it was almost a debacle on Sunday.
Yeah,
I mean, it was amazing. I mean, I was looking at that as you were talking about this. I mean, we say that yesterday went good. Yesterday did not go good until the back nine.
That's true.
It was unbelievable, to be honest with you.
In Bryson's defense, Fitzpatrick birdied 5 of the first 7 holes.
Oh yeah, no,
hey,
and
he
I
made
get
4
it.
in a row at one point to go 5 up. So, match play has a funny way of nobody can stay hot for all 18 holes, and you kind of got to ride those ebbs and flows. And it just, I think Bryson didn't play near as bad as everybody thought off the bat. I think just Fitzy came out extremely hot.
He did come out hot. Yeah, Fitz went birdie first, par, birdie, birdie, birdie. Bryson was par, bogey, birdie, par, bogey, par.
Yeah, so not a great start.
He shot 1 over par on the front side.
Not a great start, coupled with 5 under for Fitz or something like that?
Yeah, actually he shot even. Sorry, he birdied 9.
So he shot
even par on a Sunday. And yeah, most Sundays, we would take even par. But in a format like this, you can't.
Yeah.
You got to come out firing. Now, he did redeem on the back because he had 5 birdies on the back.
There you go.
So he ended up with he had 4 birdies on the back, sorry, because 9. So 4 birdies on the back, which actually brought it back. And then Fitz just started tanking on the back.
Yeah.
I mean, he was really 1 putt away from putting that to bed and just couldn't make it happen. Griffin probably, across the board, played the best on Sunday. More than anybody. He was consistently up. Then he went down, but then he went up. So that was good to see. Morikawa came out of the gate down through 4.
Just checking some strokes gained singles for you.
For 2.5 days, we couldn't do anything against the Europeans. Nothing. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what triggered on 10, but we just turned on the afterburners on 10. It had to be, well, no, it wouldn't. I was thinking that it might have been Bryson that got that spark going.
Well, traditionally we are better in singles always. We're better in 4-ball. We're better in singles, and ultimately, I just feel like we are so bad at alternate shot foursomes format, and the competition is always going to start with foursomes, and we're behind the 8 ball right off the bat, and then we're going to wake up Saturday morning, and if we haven't erased that. We've been down as much as 4-0 after the morning session on Friday. And it, without fail, this happens. Every single year, we're down.
Yeah.
This year it was 3-1. It's 3.5 to a half. 3-1. Even 2.5 to 1.5. If we don't have a really strong Friday afternoon 4-ball session, then we wake up Saturday and we do it again.
Yeah.
And it seems like it never fails, even when we win the Ryder Cup, that we are behind the 8 ball coming out of the Saturday morning foursomes, and we don't play that format enough in the United States to be good at it. We don't have enough cohesion as a team to be good at it, to excel at it like the Euros do. Until we get a good core, another, you alluded to it, DJ's gone, Koepka's gone, Reed's gone, Phil's gone. The Euros have had a few guys roll off. but they have not had the huge turnover that we have, losing a bunch of stalwarts on our squad that were there with 5 and 6 Ryder Cups under their
because
belt.
all of those that you just named, they're all our fire guys.
Yeah.
They're the ones that get that let's go, baby. But we just didn't have that. That's what the weirdest thing was. Even when Justin made the putt on 18, that was probably the most fire I saw all week, but it was still just weird. Like, it was just off. And we've got to figure out how to come back. We've got to figure out how to get that back and get that, hey, I'm playing for my country. We're playing for this cup. We cannot go 3 down, 3 in a row, which we're going to have a tough test. It's home course for Lowry. Rory knows that course very, very well. So I don't know. Where do you think we go from here? I think we have to get the live thing figured out. I think we have to get all of our American players playing again together.
Yeah,
or at least count world points.
Well, the
world ranking points.
We could do a whole show on official world golf ranking and how poor it is at actually determining who's playing the best because of the lack of any kind of credit given to live.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting into the semantics about why they're not giving points. I don't think under the current format, there's not a clear cut way to rate their tournaments. But at the same time, I remember DJ was 6 months. We were 6 months into the thing, and DJ was in the 100s. Like he's the 150th best player in the world.
Right.
Like, come on, man, you crazy?
Exactly.
You're absolutely nuts.
It's all because they took away the points.
It's remarkable. It just goes to show you how. I mean, if Bryson was on the PGA Tour week in, week out, I have no doubt that he would at least be challenging Scheffler as the number 1 player in the world. I'm not taking away anything from Scheffler, and I'm not saying that Scheffler wouldn't be number 1 if Bryson was there. I'm just saying that he would actually be challenging him because he was able to qualify for the Ryder Cup only playing in majors, which is what a remarkable feat.
Yeah.
So just wrapping up the strokes gained conversation for one last time. So in the singles, looking at total strokes gained, and again, as far as data points, this is the best thing probably we have in today's game to say who's all around game performed the best relative to the field.
Right.
Statistically. It doesn't tell
numbers don't lie
when those shots happened. You can certainly say, well, down the stretch it wasn't great, but overall, Russell Henley was leading the pack. Shane Lowry was in at second.
Yep.
No surprise, that match probably had the most fireworks.
Oh, for sure.
Between the two of those guys.
Most fun to watch.
It was certainly fun to watch.
Yeah.
Coming in next was Schauffele. Again, we talked about that because his ball striking was incredible. He did not putt well. Rahm also did not putt that well, but his ball striking and tee to green was.
And we're talking about just on the singles.
Phenomenal. This is just Sunday singles. Just Sunday singles. Next, DeChambeau, Thomas, Spawn, and Young. So, again, ball don't lie. Stats don't lie. Yeah. As you said.
I would love to see those stats for the other days, though.
This basically says, it's dismal. It's how bad.
Can you do it for the entire week?
It's as bad as you think it is. So event total overall, just to give you an idea.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, Fleetwood was number 1.
Oh,
I know that's shocking.
Not shocking at all. That dude is a machine. Machine.
So when you balance it out, ultimately the point totals were relatively even, 15-13, right? So maybe statistically, would you get relatively even? Yeah, that's what we see. You got Fleetwood leading the pack. You got Cam Young right behind him.
Awesome.
You got
really proud of him this week. Phenomenal player, hometown kid. That was a lot of pressure on him. So congrats to Cam Young for an incredible Ryder Cup. You got to walk away with your head held high on that kid.
You got Rose and Fitzpatrick. Okay. Who both won.
And these are for all 3 days.
This is total for all 3 days.
For the event. Okay.
Most of these guys at the top either played. Rose was only seen in 3 sessions. A couple of those guys like Fleetwood and DeChambeau played all 5. DeChambeau comes in 5th in strokes gained for total for the week. A little surprising statistically because he was 1-3-1, but again, this tells.
Isn't that wild?
This gives an overall picture. It doesn't necessarily say
maybe we weren't as bad as we thought.
What did he run into?
Yeah,
the buzzsaw that he ran into. We know he caught Fleetwood one time. I mean, you're not beating Fleetwood, so.
No.
Kind of like that. So then Henley, which played very solid.
Okay.
McIlroy, Rahm, Spawn, Thomas, Schauffele, Scheffler. So again, we got
Scheffler
a very
last, huh?
We got a very among the ones I mentioned, you've got half the field still below. Shane Lowry coming in next in 12th, 13th. But we saw a relatively even matched.
So Shane Lowry was
statistically
overall one of the worst strokes gained?
He was 13th. He was middle of the pack.
Okay.
Out of the 24 players, he was the middle of the pack.
Oh, so you just gave me top 10.
Yeah, I was just kind of running through the so at the bottom, bringing up the rear, you had Højgaard, Burns, Griffin. Not surprisingly, Griffin was 1-1. Burns had a losing record. Højgaard had a losing record. Ahlberg's 2-2. He was 4th from the bottom. Straka 1-2, 5th from the bottom.
Man, that's
Harris
surprising.
English,
He's an awesome player.
2-1. But again, just looking at statistics, they obviously don't always tell the whole story.
Because it's just telling against the field.
But the most telling thing to me, as I just kind of glance at this entire chart, is as far as putting, Lowry and Straka were the only outliers in terms of putting strokes gained relative to their overall totals. So when I look at this, when I sort this record
putting
by,
saved those two guys.
It did, but when I sort this by total strokes gained for the entire event, all your good putters are pretty much still in the top. Lowry was 13th, but 2.84 on the positive side strokes gained, and Straka was 3.63 strokes gained putting, and yet overall he was 20th in the field in strokes gained total, which speaks to how putting saved him for sure.
Yeah.
And the only outlier, the rest of them, when you sort by total or sort by putting, they're all in there. So
Gotcha.
Again, as we said, I mean, we say it too often in golf. It all comes down to putting, or it's just a putting contest or whatever. But truly, we know course setup in America, Ryder Cup, we have to make it not a putting contest.
Yeah.
Because that's where we just lose so many matches, and Beth Page just didn't do it.
No.
Something about the setup or the conditions or whatever.
Does Keegan have any blame in this?
The one kind of funny, maybe not funny, is that there was one matchup during the foursomes, some data analytics, which is, it's what we're doing now. We're all about this data.
Yep.
And we've been talking about it here, so we can't fault these folks. But they ran the 132 combinations of partners that could pair up in the foursomes.
Yep.
And Keegan put out the 132nd possible. In other words, the absolute worst possible pairing based on data on Saturday morning.
Oh, yikes.
Shocking. So
out of 132 different possibilities,
we picked
his ranked number 132.
We picked the worst one. Now, does he have access to those numbers? Is he looking at those numbers? Does anybody care? I don't know.
Sounds like next Ryder Cup we need to have a data analyst.
They don't always tell the story, but golly.
But that's based on results after?
Every sport out there is that was based on before. That's based on just data analytics, analyzing
that was
strokes
based
gained,
on how well they were playing coming
tour
into
performance, everything like that in general, and how the pairs would match up as partners.
And he picked the worst, and not even realizing it.
Not even maybe we don't know. We don't know.
I mean, I think if he would have got that, he'd have been like, maybe let me check.
Would he though?
I don't know. I don't know, because he's a feeling kind of guy. He's a fiery kind of guy.
It'd be hard.
I think that'll be the last time that we have a guy that qualifies that could have played in the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
Be a captain. I think that first of all, that was a complete debacle anyway. Like, I know Tiger turned it down, but why would we go to a guy who's playing that good to take? Again, we took Keegan out of the equation. He has a lot of patriotism.
Well, I don't think anybody expected him to qualify for the Ryder Cup as a player, and technically he didn't. Now, he played himself into the top.
But he would have been picked.
He played himself into the conversation.
Yeah.
Had he not been a captain. But I don't think anybody saw that coming. But if you'll remember correctly, this whole thing going back with Keegan probably is a direct result of him being passed over by Zach Johnson on the squad in favor of what a lot of folks call the good old boy network, to where we had to get the golf boys, Ricky and Spieth and JT on the team. And we passed over Keegan. We passed over Keegan when a lot of folks were critical of Zach Johnson passing over Keegan. And then the PGA, it almost felt like right after the fact that to rectify that, they made him captain. Right. And I don't think anybody was, I remember his reaction. I don't think anybody was more surprised than Keegan himself.
Oh, I agree.
So, my question goes back to, the pipeline for captaincy. Tiger was quoted as saying he's ready to lead if called upon, but who knows if that's
at this point,
who knows if that's a hollow statement.
Somebody's gonna have to step up.
But who we got? I've heard Keegan mentioned as actually getting another crack at it. I've heard Snedeker, who was a vice captain. I've heard Stricker getting another crack at it. Stricker was captain at
Couples led? Couples hasn't led yet, right?
I'm actually not sure if he has been a captain yet.
I think he's been a vice captain. I'm not sure if he's been a captain yet. Well, at the end of the day, we've got to figure something out, because this is 2 in a row that we've gotten pretty manhandled. So where are we at now on the last 5 years?
Freddie has not been.
Yeah, I don't think he has.
Ryder Cup captain.
Yeah.
So the Ryder Cup until this year was really easy to remember past winners, because no one has won on away soil since 2012. So you could just trace back. Basically, the home team has been winning the last 12 years or so. But now the Euros have broken that streak, and
I guess that's why it feels so stingy, because it's
going to be
every 2 years.
It's going to be a tall order for the Americans to not lose 3 in a row. Being that we lost the last one,
lost last year, lost this year, and now we got to go.
Now we got to go over there. I think the odds makers, the U.S. team prior to the picks and then after the picks were made, they were always minus 150. So that's just a product of showing the home team certainly has the better odds of winning.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of folks that were breaking down the actual squads and wondering if the Americans could get it done this time, just because there's not a lot of dynamic players on this team. All of our big boys have kind of rolled off now.
I know. Maybe, to be fair, we still would have lost even if Henley would have made that putt, so you can't put it on Henley either.
We would have had a chance. Who knows? It's hard to say what would have happened.
Well,
in the last few matches.
Yeah, because they probably would have.
We still had to pull. We still had to pull through.
But as it came through, we still would have lost.
If he gets that, we're back in the game. Everybody was up at the time, I believe.
Yeah.
So we had to hold. He had to win that match, and then us sort of hold serve, because I remember thinking at one point I thought it may very well end in a 14-all tie. What's your kind of final takeaway? What would you do if you were the PGA of America and had to come up with a plan of attack to make sure this doesn't happen again? And that's a heavy question.
First of all, I would fix this live thing. That would be the first thing on the docket. We got to get Americans back playing. We got to get everybody back playing together.
All right, so devil's advocate, we're the PGA of America. You and I, represent the PGA of America. I'm throwing my hands up. I can't do anything about it. That's PGA Tour versus Saudis and versus,
So if that's not an option, I'm picking the fieriest guys, no matter where they land.
Okay. All right.
I'm picking the guys who are going to bring the most energy.
All right. So what you're proposing then, you're taking your 6 automatic qualifiers, and then you're going to make sure your captain's picks are used wisely on guys that just bring it.
Just bring it. Just get it. Everybody hyped.
Hey man, see, you're making a case for my man Patrick Reed, Captain America.
No, I don't disagree with that. I mean, he would never back down. He always fought to the end.
Yeah.
And I just like that. And not to take away from these guys, but the guys that were out there, they're just very quiet guys. They're just not very fiery guys.
You had,
that's just never been our team in the past.
You got JT bringing the heat. You got DeChambeau obviously bringing the heat. He was a great addition in terms of passion.
But even Scotty's so chill.
He's not a passion guy.
So chill.
He's not a passion guy.
Spawn, so chill. Morikawa, so chill. Hindley, definitely so chill. I never even see him get highs or lows. Griffin. I mean, Cam was a great ad. I think Cam's looking like he's going to be on the team for a while.
But he's stoic.
Yep.
I mean, the best situation for us to happen is for whatever stable of players we start with, that they start playing well enough multiple years to make multiple Ryder Cups.
Yeah.
And then you don't have a team full of rookies.
No, I mean, that was probably a bigger problem. We had a huge amount of rookies on the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, I think the captain's picks for the Euros, like I said, they were just, when I remember looking at the list and just thinking, man, remember Matt Wallace? We talked about him in our show.
Yeah, because Hogard was the only rookie, right? Oh no, Oberg was too.
Was he, or was he a captain's pick in before?
I don't think so. I don't even think he's been around that long.
Yeah, he hasn't. But I was thinking for some reason that they picked him.
It was very few rookies.
He was a controversial pick a little bit because he hadn't really proven himself, but they kind of had in mind that he was going to be the future, and so they made him a selection for that purpose.
I couldn't remember.
I don't think in America we have any sort of lead pipe locks to guys to lead the future. We don't know from one year to the next who's gonna stay strong, who's gonna peter out. And I don't know if it speaks to, do we just not have the talented guys, or is it just kind of the way it goes over here, where they run hot and cold, so hot and cold from year to year. But remember we talked about Matt Wallace. He was very dejected when he didn't qualify on merit at the final DP Tour event that qualified, and there was some speculation, and we talked about it, how he didn't seem to think he had any chance of making the field. And I was surprised, because I said, well, here's a guy that's played well. He's going to finish, he's going to finish in number 7 on the Euros list. Like, surely a guy that finishes 7th has a chance. And then I remember pulling that list up the first time and seeing that the names were lined up behind him. And it was just shocking. I was like, no wonder he knows. He knew if he wasn't an automatic qualifier, it was almost like a Brian Harmon situation over here. Brian Harmon knew, making the team. He knows if he's not top 6 that he's not making the team.
Yeah,
but it was even more evident with the Euros that Wallace was not getting picked. Yep. So kind of a shame. I can't answer my own question about what I would do if I was the PGA of America, but
really try to give me an honest answer of what would you do.
I'm going with Freddie Couples. I don't know why.
I love Freddie. Captain. Everybody loves Freddie.
I don't really know why
he hasn't been.
That'd be interesting to see.
Who knows?
I suppose that's because it doesn't sound like.
I'm pretty sure Tiger's going to be the next captain, though.
My boy Brant Snedeker, Nashville boy. I would love to see him be captain. He is such a great guy.
Yeah.
He would certainly bring a different dynamic.
Yep. But he's kind of on the softer side too, right?
He is. Mm-hmm. Is that good or bad? And only the folks that are in that locker room, that are part of the selection process, know what they need. And I think that's just going to be up to them to come up with. So back to what we talked about. the European side going down after the 6 automatic qualifiers. 7 was Lowry, 8 was Straka, 9 was Auberg, 10 was Hovland, 11 was Fitzpatrick, and then throw in John Rahm. It was a no-brainer.
Yeah,
as well.
Well,
he was the 24th, but obviously
I'm going to guess Donald would have probably wished that he would have, if he had known. Did Hovland always have the neck injury, or is it just something that?
I saw varying reports that maybe he slept wrong on it and just had kind of
a crick in the neck.
Yeah, crick in the neck, which we've all seen.
Yeah,
but
and they hurt.
I'm still calling foul on that extra half point.
I agree, man. I agree. I think that's something that needs to be like, hey, if you can't, we would disqualify him in any other tournament.
He would have to play, or
he'd have to withdraw.
Now
nobody else would get a point, but in match play you would lose the match if you couldn't tee it up.
As large of an event as this is, it would be nothing to have an alternate picked.
Well, that actually does surprise me that we don't have one alternate
seems like
for this situation. But
and it could be a playing vice captain.
Yeah.
You bring a guy along like the Euros had. His name escapes me. Crap.
Molinari?
No, not Molinari. They had a guy that actually was better, like in form. Like, you had an outside shot, not, given this superstar lineup, had an outside shot of actually being picked, and they Noren. Alexander Noren.
Oh, Alex Noren, yeah.
Alex Noren. So
and he's
good
a
player.
stud.
Yeah, good player. Just hasn't had the best couple years. Didn't qualify. Didn't play well enough to justify it, but could have certainly stepped in.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a solution going forward now that this has happened, because like I said, if you're in that team room in Euro, if you're the captain, if you're Donald, and you say, hey, Victor, can you go tomorrow? And Victor gives you any even a remote, like, I don't know, man, I might be. Well, you're sitting, because I get half a point, and that puts us half a point closer.
Yep.
Because we'll take all halves tomorrow. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They didn't need, it just put them that much closer.
It was definitely a unique situation, and I hope that there's a better situation than, a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I love that, but it is what it is.
Hey, Ryder Cup, you can't argue sometimes with traditions, and that's what makes our game great. And it's why we're able to argue and debate all these things, right? Because if you set this thing up tomorrow, if you built the Ryder Cup tomorrow, and you didn't have any history to build it from, I think it would look a lot different than it does today.
Sure.
It certainly wouldn't be GB and I. It might look more like the President's Cup, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It might be U.S. versus the world, or some form of maybe 4, like hockey plays. They divide their internationals into 4 different groups. Mm-hmm. And they have 4 teams.
Yeah. Interesting. Next week we're gonna take a break. We're gonna shoot a couple more episodes this week, so we'll have something for you for sure. So keep an eye out on YouTube. If you guys could subscribe and like and comment, that really helps our channel grow and obviously get out to more people. Obviously, we're new at this as a team, and but it's been great having Matt with us, and we're getting a lot of good insight, and we're getting better every day, buddy.
Hope so, man. Having fun. It's what this game's all about. So
absolutely, it's always a grind, right?
We'll try to get better at the podcast
too. Well, if you guys would subscribe on our socials, and like we say all the time, please send us comments, and we'll be happy to kind of incorporate some stuff into the next show. But as always, thanks for watching. I'm Jeremy Lee.
Matt Vick. Thank y'all.
We will see you on the tee.
See you next week.
Take care.